Mount St Helens is a large cone-shaped volcano in the northwest of the United States of America in Washington State, and it erupted in May 18th, 1980. Here's the causes of this eruption with some specific detail. So the Pacific plate, here it is, was subducting underneath the North American plate, and the oceanic plate was moving because of convection currents found in the mantle. And it was sinking underneath the continental crust of the North American plate because it was more dense. So as the oceanic Pacific plate started to sink, it starts to melt into the magma, and this creates a magma chamber underneath the continental crust of the North American plate. This magma works its way up through small cracks in the rocks, eventually erupting at the surface as a volcano. A volcanic eruption brings about a range of impacts across the spectrum, social, economic and environmental, though some do overlap. So 57 people were killed after the Mount St Helens eruption, including old Harry Truman, who refused to move off the volcano because he had lived there all his life and had never seen an eruption. Economic impacts that could also be linked towards social are the destruction of houses, because of course people will lose their homes because of this. People will make insurance claims, and the cost of rebuilding. 185 miles of roads were destroyed. This made it difficult for people to get away and cost a lot of money with the rebuilding. Ones that overlap sort of economic and environmental will include the destruction of forests. This is because people lost income through the timber, but also damage into the natural habitat. Very similar thing happened to salmon. Huge amounts of salmon died from Spirit Lake, and this affected the food chain, with bears and elk dying out as well. As part of the environmental damage, of course, Mount St Helens was a much taller, larger volcano. It ripped apart half of the mountain. Only 57 people died in this eruption, though, despite its huge size, and this is because it was managed well. The United States Geological Survey, they put up lots of monitoring equipment on the volcano, using gas spectrometers to monitor gas levels, and they monitored the bulge of the volcano as well, just keeping some visual observations. And so they had a plan, and they had some different zones categorized: very dangerous area close to the volcano, and decreasing levels of danger further away, and highlighted evacuation routes so people could get away safely. And they communicated these warnings via emergency radio, and they told people the frequency to tune into. So all of this raises the question, really, why do people live near volcanoes if it's so risky? Well, in the case of Mount St Helens, people like Harry Truman, who lived there all his life, didn't want to move, hadn't seen it erupt before, was not going to move. Some people go to study the volcano, such as the United States Geological Survey. They are there to take observations. And of course, the economic benefits that volcanoes bring, so the forests around Mount St Helens and Spirit Lake, they were used for timber to sell. And lots of tourism is attracted in volcanic areas: Mount St Helens National Volcanic Monument, helicopter tours, and on Spirit Lake itself at the foot of the volcano.